Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Metanoia Effect. I'm one of your co-hosts, Portia Booker. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at the Metanoia Movement on, I believe it's our YouTube channel. So this episode today, we're going to focus on leadership is bigger than just a title. But if it's bigger than just a title, then what is it? And the reason why I chose this topic for today is because I often hear, and I've even had my own experience with this. When I used to work in corporate, there was always this, if you want to call it, issue I had with leadership. Because I'm like, how is it that these people who don't truly understand developing people, kindness, putting people first, developing them and focusing on what their goals are, how are they over everyone else? So when leadership in my mind has always been that you're born with leadership, that you are a born leader, you can develop leadership traits, but I believe true leadership is a born trait. So that's why I picked this topic for today, to really talk about what leadership looks like in the world today, where more and more people are really questioning so many different norms in the world. So welcome, everyone. Dawn and Robert, did you want to say anything before we jump into our questions for today?
Just hello, and I can't wait to have this conversation.
Same. Hello, and let's dive in.
All right. So, Robert, bring up the question, please.
The question numero uno. Okay, if leadership can be taught, why can two people receive the exact same training, mentorship, and opportunities, and only one becomes someone people genuinely want to follow?
I can start with that if you guys want.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Dawn and I often have this conversation. And I think many of you have heard the story about how there's two kids that grow up in the same house with the alcoholic parent. How come one chooses to not become an alcoholic and the other one does? It kind of reminds me of that same story, because when you think about leadership, and as I said in the beginning, from my own personal experience, to me, leadership is about putting other people first. It's not about, hey, I have this title, or I have all these years of experience in a particular area, but yet I'm in charge of managing the day-to-day workflow. There's a difference between managing a day-to-day workflow and working with people. And so I think when it comes to two different people receiving the exact same training, mentorship, all the above, I think at the end of the day, it boils down to intention. Is your intention to be better than what you experience? Because I don't think in any of my previous roles that I've had a leader or a boss that I'm like, yeah, I want to be like them. I always wanted to run away from them because their style just didn't align with me. It was that, oh, I'm going to yell in meetings to get everybody's attention, or I have to command the room to get organization. And I always said, if you're acting that way in your place of employment, then you don't have control at home. So what are we really doing? Is the intention to really keep order, or is the intention to build community? So that's my take on that. Dawn or Robert?
You want to go, Dawn?
Yeah, I'll chime in. I have found myself in leadership positions so many times, like unwittingly, unwillingly, like it wasn't like something I set out to do, but I always feel like, oh, I drew the short straw. Nobody else wants to do it, so Dawn will do it. And it like has happened so many different times. Now, I'm a firstborn. I think that also has something to do with it. But my leadership style is never, I'm above and you're down here. Listen to me. And this is my parenting style. This is just who I am. I see everybody as equals. We're here to do something, work together. I have a vision. And two of my favorite words are sawubona, which means I see you, I value you, you are important to me. And Ubuntu, I am because we are. So those two things combined with inspired vision, I think those make a good leader. And so if you are leading from a place other than those, then your style is going to be very different than mine. And I'm not saying I'm a perfect leader, but again, for some reason, I keep ending up in these leadership positions. And maybe it's because I'm the oldest. Maybe I'm a little bossy. I'm not sure. But I don't like to be bossy. I don't think I tell people. I don't even tell my dogs what to do. Are you kidding? So, but I just think like having a vision, a beautiful vision, and really seeing people is really what I bring to leadership. And I feel like if that's what your goal is in your leadership position, that is what's going to become a successful leader.
So for me, going back to what Portia said earlier, that you're born with leadership qualities. So it's not even that leadership can be taught. It has to be relearned. Because as kids get older, you start to adopt other people's philosophies about life. And you end up losing that one thing that really, really moves you. And then hopefully, if you're fortunate enough, later on in life, you'll get to realize that thing. So I got into management / supervisor roles at the age of 15, and I became a general manager at the age of 19. And I've gone through all the things, thinking because I was younger, I have to puff up my chest and, pretty much bark at people because, I'm a teenager working with people who are 35, 40 and older. And then as I started to get older, I started realizing that this isn't me. It's like I'm not the type to go around and just yell at people. Now, I'll put bass in the voice if I need to emphasize a point, but I'm not a yeller. Like, and I worked for bosses who were yellers, and they got results, they got good numbers. The restaurant was profitable, so it's like, oh, this person is a great manager. I'm like, but we all can't stand him. Or her. You know what I mean? It's like, yes, I'm glad all of your numbers are balancing, but I'm making just enough money to put up with it. Right? So if you're in that mental state, then that person is really not a good leader. So what I've learned, and even now with my style, as bold as I am, everything that comes out of my mouth is with the other person's goal in mind. So in fitness, it's a little different than corporate America. Like in fitness, you're working to run faster, to lose weight, to build muscle, to get stronger, all of those things. And so as I'm pushing people towards their goals, like I remind them of what they told me in the consultation. And even back in the restaurant days, I would tell the front of house staff, who said, you guys have to remember, people are coming here to escape their reality. They don't want to come here and pick up your drama, right? They don't want you dumping on them at the table. They're here for an experience. To us, you could just say, oh, we're just serving food. But we have to look at what they're looking to gain by coming to our establishment. And that starts with the parking lot being clean, the bathrooms being clean, the front foyer area being organized, a nice warm greeting from the front of house staff, the host staff, the greeting at the table, clear communication if things are a little slow, but just understanding that your role is bigger than just being an employee. And a true leader helps their staff see that vision beyond what they think it is. So that's my take on it.
But can I say something, Robert?
Go ahead, Dawn.
What you said I thought was really important. What you just said is you make them feel like a team. Like everybody is a team and they're part of the solution to whatever it is you're working towards. And when people feel like a team, I feel like they're inspired to bring their best selves.
Yes, let me put up a comment here. It says, I'm a true believer that a good leader has the ability to lead by example and a follower can relate with them. Yeah, absolutely. Like, people don't want to just be barked at. And even I turn 52 tomorrow, and even at my age, working with my athletes, a lot of them are blown away that I can still demonstrate 99% of the stuff that I have them do. Rather than you see other coaches who aren't in the best of shape, who could not do anything that they're asking the athletes to do. I mean, yes, they still have the knowledge, they still have the experience, but the kids gain more respect when they see that you can do it too. And it's the same way in corporate. Like at the restaurant that I work at, all of the owners work on the front lines. They're at the cashier, they're bussing tables, they're seating people, they're helping out in the kitchen if needed. Like all of them are hands-on, and we have 100 employees, and everybody in there is happy. I mean, the dishwashers kind of get their butt kicked because we're just so busy there. But it's such a great atmosphere, and all of as good as our food is, the number one compliment that we get is on the service. Because again, we focus on giving them an experience. Like, we're not just simply serving them food.
Teamwork makes teamwork.
Absolutely.
There was a Disney movie I watched that's kind of said the same thing. Like when you're a part of something meaningful, you can't be upset.
Yes, absolutely. That goes back to what I always say about purpose. You know, like a lot of people live in these sad and depressed states because they don't have a purpose. Like when you have a purpose, you're working to better the lives of other people. How can you be miserable when you're bettering the lives of other people if you're in your true purpose? All right, we have anything else for question 1?
Think we can move on.
All right, question number 2. We have, can you call yourself a good leader if you consistently get results, but the people following you become smaller, quieter, afraid to fail, or afraid to tell you the truth? Who wants to go first?
Dawn's shaking her head, so go ahead, Dawn.
No, I'm going to say no. And just what I answered before with the making people feel seen and valued, you cannot be a good leader if you are not making people feel seen, supported, and valued. And so yeah, you can get all the results you want, but I know in the corporate world, people they've got anxiety, they've got depression, they break out in rashes, they've got all kinds of health things because they're getting yelled at, they're getting berated by their employer or their boss. And I don't look at that as a good leader. I don't care what results you get. If people don't feel seen and valued, then you're not a good leader in my book.
So I want to chime in on that, and just to give another perspective, because that's the whole premise of this show, right? It's 3 perspectives. Is I agree with what you're saying, but at the same token, you can't coddle people. Like sometimes as a leader, you have to make an unpopular decision. Like at the gym, we just switched around some of the classes on the schedule, and some of the people are chirping about it. And one of the women just yesterday was like, some people aren't happy about the schedule change. I'm like, noted, but that's what we're doing now. So it's like sometimes you have to, because if you just change something because one person pushes back, then anytime you change something, other people, they're all going to push back. So sometimes you have to take that stance. It was like, I understand it's going to be a transition period for everyone, but this is the direction that we're going in. So having the courage to make the tough decision, knowing that there's going to be some pushback, is also needed as well.
But part of that question is they're not afraid to tell you the truth. Doesn't mean you're going to change just because they're not happy with whatever decision you needed to make, but they're in a safe space where they feel like they can at least tell you that, oh, I don't like this. Yeah. Right. So I think that that's important to have that space where people feel that they're able to voice their concerns, whether you can acquiesce or not. Just having that safe space, I think, is important.
Yeah, true. Wait, Portia, hold on a second. We got another comment in. I said, pushback isn't the same as someone getting smaller or quieter. Okay, fair enough. All right,
I agree. Well, I mean, I think, too, I know one of the things that I brought up before that I struggled with feedback, because feedback is essential as a leader, that you have to be able to receive it. But there's also the difference of feedback and people being critical. There's 2 differences in that. And I can say for me that I think you can still be a great leader, but at the same time, your staff and people have to feel that sense of trust with you to come to you. It's a 2-way relationship at the end of the day. So to Robert's point, like if I made a schedule change at the gym and one person doesn't like it, but the rest of the people are content, we're going to keep moving. But if you keep trying to accommodate everybody else instead of the vision you set forth, how can you really call yourself a leader if you're going to let other people walk over you when you set the tone of the vision from the beginning? I can say this. Recently, I just hired someone to do some work for me. And one of the things that I'm big on before I send anything to any of my clients. So for example, before I send any type of brand assets to any of my clients, I look it over first to make sure, okay, this is on point. The colors, the fonts, the brand goes along with what the story is that the client is trying to convey through their social media channels. And if I see that there's something that's off, I need to question my designer and say, hey, can you explain this? And if they're giving me back and forth of no, I don't have to, whatever, you're done. Because that's not how I roll. Because I want to make sure that my clients are taken care of from the lens of excellence and not from a lens of mediocrity. And that, to me, as a leader, I had to step forward into that. Like, it may be an uncomfortable conversation, but I took the initiative to understand why. I took the initiative to make sure that, hey, are we in alignment or are we not? So I think that's the other component here, is that I think you can still be a good leader, but it's a two-way relationship. Leadership, being a leader, and leading other people is a two-way thing.
Agreed.
All right. Anything else on that note?
Well, I just wanted to
go ahead, Dawn.
I wanted to just echo what Jolene said. I think it was Jolene about, making people feel smaller or quieter. And I think a good leader or a good human doesn't ever make someone feel small. And that's like one of the things I'm really big on. It's like, never make somebody feel small.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because when you're a leader, that's your role, is to dive deeper. Because I think that's the dilemma in a lot of corporate spaces, is the leadership does not know anything about their employees. They're so hyper focused on the end goal of whether it's increasing revenue or whatever it might be, that when a tragedy happens, for example, my biggest thing is kind of the restrictions on grief time, time away for bereavement in corporate entities. A lot of companies, they have different criteria depending on the loss that you had. So for some people, for example, their step parents were their parents or grandparents, where in some companies, they only give you 1 day for step parents, right? So again, it's that leadership initiative of, are you investing as much time in reaching the goals of the company as you are also the people who are working for you? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are on the front lines. So how can you really say that you are a leader if you don't really know what's going on the front lines before you, and your team doesn't feel safe enough to come to you to say, hey, this isn't working?
Yeah, so Jolene actually just put up another comment, which I'll bring it up in a second. Well, yeah, I'll bring it up in a second. I just want to piggyback again on what you said. So I had the pleasure of being interviewed on Studio 10 on NBC earlier this morning, and I brought one of my jumpers to the studio with me. And as we were talking, well, before we went into the studio, I told him, I said, this is not a pump up Rob session. I said, I want you to genuinely talk about your biggest takeaways of training with me the last 3 years. So once the host asked him that question, he's given his answer. He was a little nervous, but the whole part of my program is about feeling the fear and doing it anyway. So the fact that he showed up, because he was petrified when I first asked him, but the money sentence that he said was, well, his coach reached out to me when he was a sophomore. He's like, I have this kid, he high jumped 6 feet, but he just does not believe in himself. And so he brought me in to help with that mental performance piece. So he said today that his biggest takeaway of working out with me, like, it wasn't the workouts, it wasn't the running, it wasn't the like support that I gave him. It was, I helped him set higher expectations for himself. And that right there, it like touched my soul. Because to me, it's not about all of the other stuff. It's the fact that I'm helping this kid become a better human being. And you can do that in any industry. Like, I work at this busy buffet called the Nordic. And yesterday we just got pounded. It was so busy on the buffet side. And I feed the lakeside group. But just even when it's busy, and even when things everything is always so calm, the managers are always calm. Like, whether a bus is coming in late or whether the lakeside gets flat set, like, no matter what is going on, it's always like, we got this. Keeping that calm, because I'm sure we've all worked for that leader who spazzes out under pressure, and then that just trickles down to everyone else. So being like a true leader is when things are at their worst, you can still get your staff to perform at their best.
That's the example.
Thank you. All right, I think. Oh wait, yes, right. Jolene had
Yep.
a comment. Yep. So, see, but saying that, a good leader should make it a point to know who they are leading. Take some one-on-one time with your team. I agree with that. Also, 100%. All right, you guys got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, again, this is about making people feel seen and valued. And no matter if you're in a leadership position or just, your everyday life, that there is nothing better you can do for humanity than to make people feel seen and valued.
Absolutely. All right, let's
And I
get to
think can
this.
we add to that too? Like, isn't it amazing when you get to learn like who works with you? I told you guys that I recently hired someone and I asked them, tell me what your goals are. Who is your family? Who makes you light up every day? I I mean, Dawn, you can attest to this that I know everything about each of my clients. Everything about you. I know your families. I know it makes you shine. I know it makes you upset. And for me, it makes me like really honored that I've taken the time to learn that about you when I've never had that experience with any of my other previous employers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, let's get to this last one. All right, who
This
are
is gonna be
you
fun.
as a leader when following you costs the people around you something and you have nothing to personally gain? All right, Portia, you're up first on this one.
So I'll give a little context with this one. So think about when we have people working for us, right? And they're sacrificing time with us and a regular 8 hour day, you know, they're eating lunch with you, they're spending time at their cubicles and all the above, right? So they're sacrificing a lot for you to help you grow, right? So at the end of the day, what are you really gaining, or what do you call yourself as a leader if these people are making sacrifices for your behalf, but you're not gaining anything personally? Why continue to lead if you're not gaining something? Does that make sense now?
Yeah, so personally gain how?
So think about it in this way. You know how some people, their businesses are strictly driven by this notion of profit, 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 and not so much of helping people to develop. So if you're not reaching that end goal, what makes you continue to lead in some capacity?
Okay, I got it. So like
Does that make sense?
if you're feeling like you've reached your ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now
Mm-hmm.
I get it. Now I get it. Yeah, so I'll actually start with this one then. So now this was years ago, decades ago, when I was a young restaurant manager. And sometimes you get put in a position where you're too good at a particular job, and management feels like, well, we can't move him. Who's going to replace him if we move him? And I was in that spot. And you want to be loyal to the company. You want to be loyal to your managers, but at the same token, I'm like, I know I can do more. It's like I know I can do more. So finally, this one day, I didn't really blow up, but I definitely advocated for myself, and I was like, all right, Mother's Day, it's the busiest day of the year. Who's your number one pick to be next to you on this line? And he was like, without a doubt, it's you. I was like, okay, so why are other people who are not me getting promoted? So now I'm starting to follow that a bit more, this
Mm-hmm.
question, because it's like when you as the leader, you want to lift people up. Like when I had my old gym, I was having trouble getting outside trainers because everybody has their own philosophy when it comes to training. Like with me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm an endurance based trainer. Like I'm not like a bodybuilder type trainer or things of that nature. But like there's completely different types. And so I started lifting up my best performing clients. And it's like, all right, so if I lift them up to become a trainer, they stop paying me and I start paying them. So I think that kind of plays along to where I'm lifting them up, but yes, I'm gaining an employee, but just personally, I wasn't gaining, on the financial side,
Mm-hmm.
but it was more important to elevate them into roles to get them to be more successful, and then to be more loyal to the other clients, and then to me. And I ended up growing a team of 7 trainers, and we went from training out of my garage to almost 300K in revenue. just from me, not thinking simply profit, 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 and what can I do to elevate my best clients. And then we ended up blossoming from that way.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, Robert, you answered the question the way that I intended it, because that's the thing. As we're growing and developing, for example, I recently had a situation, I won't go too much into it, but I'm on the leadership team of this. And in the last meeting that we had, I had to speak my mind because things weren't going in a direction that benefited the team. And it was only benefiting one person. And I was reminded about what is my why. I'm not gaining anything from this at all. It's no financial anything. It's a complete volunteer experience. And even though I'm not getting anything from it, it's the passion that I have for this. It's the passion that I have to provide that option and choice for people to find community through what I'm doing. And so at the end of the day, I'm proud of myself for speaking up because I never would have. And at the same time, I'm glad I was reminded about my why through that. My why is to help other people. My why is to give them that sense of community that they never had. So for me, what I'm gaining is that reminder that me being present and advocating for what I want is the bigger picture and the goal to help other people.
Nice. Yeah, Dawn, before you go, Jolene has another comment here, which is pretty solid. It says, I'm an adaptive athlete. My team spends their own money and time to help me race OCR. That's obstacle course race, for those that don't know. I gave up first place in Orlando Paraspartan because I knew ahead of time if I picked a certain individual to put on my chair, we would be too slow to get first place. But I also knew it would help the team see that everyone was valued, not just the fastest volunteers. Yeah, that pretty much embodies the question right there. And the adaptive athletes, I have to say, are absolutely amazing. Just watching able-bodied people completely struggle with some of these races, and then you see people in wheelchairs, walkers, and crutches getting out there and giving it their all. Like my New England OCR Expo podcast is coming back tomorrow at 1:30, where we're going to dive into stuff like that more. But that whole community is simply amazing. So Jolene, thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. All right, Dawn, you are up.
Well, and I think in this question, what I wanted to say is like nothing to personally gain. That doesn't always, what we gain is not always financial. Mm-hmm. And I think like in the leadership positions I've had, they were not paid. Like sometimes I spent my own money, doing these things, whether it's through my Desire to Inspire Foundation or any of those other things that I've done. But I gained something personally because I know that I'm changing somebody's life and I'm making someone feel seen and valued. And so I am personally gaining, but it's not in a way that we look at transactional things in the world.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I was getting at, because I think so many leaders that the old leadership to me that's the focus, is the transactional component, where me, you, and Robert, that's not our focus. Our focus is to help other people, is to give them that belief in themselves. Again, like Robert, you brought up about your student this morning on the news, the nerves and all, but he still showed up and said, hey, he helped me believe beyond my scope of reason or whatever. And I think that is the core of what leadership is. It's not a title, but so many people think that. And I hate to say it, our society supports it too. I mean, look at, for example, I love you guys know, you've seen when somebody gets promoted on LinkedIn in a corporate role, they get over 300 likes. But if you say that you're starting a new business endeavor, you get 1 or 2.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right. I don't know why this little thumbs up. I guess the thumbs up must agree. My computer has action things through my hands. So if it pops up from time to time, my apologies.
That's funny.
Oh, it one time fireworks came on one time. So like I said, I apologize in advance if that happens. If it agrees with the point I'm making, it does. So anything else on that question for either of you? Are we closing out soon?
So not the question directly, but just leadership as a whole. And one thing I've mentioned, and I see this a lot when I speak in schools, is that there's no one way. to get through to people. People receive information differently. So going back to understanding your staff's needs, your staff's struggles, and adapting your style to what that person needs. Like everyone has their core style. Just like, yes, as bold as I am, I understand when there's times where I need to just sit someone down, let them cry, and be more empathetic. But just understanding the different personality types and learning the stressors and the motivators, that really helped shape me. Because before I was just do it because I said so. Like that was my style. Like I said so, that's why. But now understanding that the thinkers are going to have questions, the feelers are going to want to really truly understand the reason for it. The leaders are going to question everything about it. The doers aren't going to care. They're just going to be like, all right, this is what's up. All right, let's go. And just understanding how to interact with the different personality types can go very, very far in someone's leadership career.
Well, and that is like the whole point behind this podcast, is we all have different styles about our leadership and the way we show up in the world. And so, Robert, you might say exactly the same thing I'm saying, but in a different way, and in the way that somebody else can hear it. They won't be able to hear it from me, but the way you say it, they'll be able to hear it. So I think that's, again, one of the reasons we even started this podcast, is to bring, different voices so that people could hear a similar message in different ways.
Yeah, see, and that's vice versa too, because I could be coming down on somebody and their defenses go up and they're not really absorbing my message. And then either one of you could say the exact same thing in a softer, still direct, but just in a softer tone, and they'll absorb that better. Because I'll tell you, sometimes I try and then I just can't. It's like, look, do XYZ and let's go. It's like, it's like, oh, Rob, I'm not losing any weight. Are you tracking your food? No. Are you drinking enough water? No. Are you getting enough steps? No. Are you training hard 3 days a week? No. Don't talk to me then.
Right.
Like sometimes I'm just that blunt.
Well, and you have to be, Robert, because this is a fitness endeavor. So you get, no pun intended, you get out what you put in.
Yes, it's an open book test. Real fitness is not rocket science. It's not rocket science at all. Just eat clean most of the time, drink enough water, move your body, and just don't keep all of your biggest temptations, don't keep them in the house. It's that simple. If it's not in the house, then you can't graze on it. And people are like, well, that's hard. Like, then don't complain about being out of shape. It's like, I don't want to tell you, it's like, that's the blueprint. Right. So I know it kind of went off script there, but that's my style.
But I think it still applies that leadership is beyond a title. You're teaching people to be accountable, right? At the end of the day, you want to train for this 5K race, but you're not eating the right foods. You're not going to bed on time. You're still eating KFC if it's even real or whatever, all the stuff around, and you're not following. But I'm here to support you when you're ready. So it's not like I've completely closed the door on you, but at the same time, I've given you homework for this open book test that you haven't done yet.
Exactly. Because it's like trying to diagnose something that you're not working on. It's like if you're doing all the things and you're not getting results, like your body fat stays the same and your weight stays the same, like your clothes don't feel looser. Like if you're doing all the things, then we have something to go back and track. But if you're not doing any of it, that's the reason why. You know what I mean? Why are you knocking your head against the wall? It's like, I already gave you the blueprint, right? You have to follow the blueprint. Yeah, Dawn, do you have some final words before Portia closes out?
No, I love the open book test. And again, we're in very different fields, so people aren't coming to me to help them with a physical goal. But again, I think the one thing I just want to reiterate over and over and over, and I reiterate this every time I speak or do anything, is like, making people feel seen and valued is the best thing we can do as humans, or as leaders, as parents, as friends, as anything we show up as in our lives.
I agree.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Jolene threw me some birthday love. Thank you, Jolene.
Yes, happy birthday,
it's officially
Robert.
tomorrow, but thank you.
Happy birthday day early.
Yes, happy birthday, Robert.
Thank you.
To our audience who's tuning in, that concludes this conversation on the Metanoia Effect. Join us again next week, and we will see you soon. Take care now.
Goodbye, everyone.